Following on from our previous video from the drone from Hemsby lifeboat station, we are now going to take a look along the coastline just a few meters up. So it has been noted that visitors worry the resort will vanish without defences. Tide and strong winds stripped away sand from Hemsby Gap lifeboat ramp, rendering the volunteer station off service. Residents and visitors to a seaside resort say they worry the entire village could be lost if sea defences are not built. Strong winds and high tides have stripped more sand from Hemsby Beach near Great Yarmouth, Norfolk on Wednesday last week. Amanda Loads, who used to live in Hemsby, says, "It's devastating. I remember my dad walking up the beach to get ice creams and there's no beach to walk up." On Thursday, many people taking pictures of the latest damage spoke of their memories of the homes lost to coastal erosion over their lifetimes of holidaying in Hemsby. Mrs. Load, 62, who now lives in Galston, says she remembers the rows of wooden cottages that have since been lost to the sea. "We moved from Birmingham when I was about 12 and it was so different," she said. "There were 5 or 6 rows of bungalows and the bungalow we lived in on Fakes Road is next in line to the sea. We used to walk along the road and now you can't. I used to play there, pick blackberries with my nan, and now you can't. That's all happened in the last 40 years. The people who live where we lived must be worried sick. What are they going to do if they can't live there anymore?" Vanessa Peckham, 69, and her husband John, 66, lived in Hemsby for about 10 years before returning to Eastbourne. They regularly return for holidays. "It's a shame," she said. "More should be done to have stopped it from getting this far." The couples were not confident that defences would be built in the short term, and they feared much more land would be lost. Mr. Peckham said the coastline definitely needs more reinforcing and concrete. "I know it's not pretty, but if it's saving the dunes, it's got to be a good thing," he said. "Probably next year it won't be much different from this, but in 10 years' time, I can't see the shoreline another 50 metres up." Diane Holmes, 73, from Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, was taking pictures on her mobile phone for her artist daughter to paint. "My daughter likes the choppy white waves, so that's what I do," she said. "But we've noticed how different it is since we came a couple of months ago and the coastline has pulled down here again. When you see how much it's eroded now in 6 months' time, with the winter coming, how much of their back gardens are going to be lost with those houses, how many more will be gone?" Her husband Malcolm, 74, added, "This time next year, those houses up there will be gone. You can see why properties came down onto the beach originally, now it's gone. I've been coming here since I was a kid. Great Yarmouth, Cromer, all the East Coast and everywhere you go, same story." The coxswain of Hemsby Lifeboat, Daniel Hurd, has called on the government to fund defences following a pledge made by the now Environment Secretary Steve Reed, who visited the beach in January before the general election. Great Yarmouth Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe said he would camp outside the office of the Water and Flooding Minister, saying he had a call with her a month ago but was still awaiting a reply. "Politicians," he said, "it's common that they promise things before an election and fail to deliver them after an election when they've been elected. When the Parliament returned after Christmas, it might be that I have to camp outside Emma Hardy's office to get some kind of answer from her. The BBC asked the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, have been approached for comment but have yet replied. Campaigners for the sea defence at an erosion hotspot on the Norfolk coast have said they want to see action after promised funding changes. A total of 25 homes in Hemsby have been lost over the past 11 years due to coastal erosion. The village was granted a licence for a 1.3 kilometre long rock berm last year, but was turned down for government funding as the 15 million scheme would only qualify where hundreds of homes are at risk. However, campaigners have argued a criteria change was needed due to the almost 100 million the resort generates each year for the borough of Great Yarmouth. Memorandums in Hemsby following the partial road collapse can be seen on the drone footage from here. In January, as we mentioned, Environment Secretary Steve Reed, who was then the Shadow Secretary, pledged a Labour government would open the door for funding sea defences in Hemsby. Simon Measures, chairman of campaign group Save Hemsby Coastline, said now Mr Reed is Environment Secretary, he hopes to see a positive step closer to the matter being looked into, but the village needs action behind the words.